animals that you're stewarding. To me, that is what abundance or Eden looks like. That is real richness. That's a real inheritance. My Roth IRA is not going to get me very far. But if I can plant a tree that's going to live for 100, 200, or like olive trees, thousands of years old, that's a gift, that's a legacy that far outlasts my little tiny 70-year internship of life. So this food forest here is two different types of models. The olive tree grove here on the left-hand side is something that's more like a commercial or a formal space. It's repeating patterns. It's very clean lines. To me, I would grow olive trees even if they don't produce a single olive. I just think they're absolutely beautiful. They're like giant bonsai trees. You can shape them however you want. But the olive leaves are beautifully medicinal. The olive leaves, and I can tell, I'm a master herbalist. I can't tell you it's going to cure disease, but I can tell you that it may have benefits for heart health, skin health, nail health, for joints, for bones, for ligaments. There's a lot of potential medicinal benefits just in the leaves of olive trees.
And just FYI, my trees produced olives last year and this year. And tonight we're having olive leaf tea.
Yep, from the food forest. And you'll be able to take some of the olive leaves home so you can try them. But the olives, if you walk, kind of through here, they really are just beautifully sculpted trees. And if you walk and go, I've been to Israel or Palestine, and you can come into the forest.
Come on in.
When you walk through those groves that are 5,000-year-old olive trees and you see that shape, what a beautiful thought to be able to connect with that legacy. And you'll probably notice on these olive trees that there are some little flowers that are just starting to form, just starting to give shape. I was getting a bunch of pictures of them earlier, and then our olive harvest will be later on in the year. Now these olive trees here are called arbequina. These ones can grow in USDA zones 8 through 11, and they stay beautiful and evergreen year round. I love the bluish silver, kind of hue to the trees, but I think it's a beautiful statement piece if you have a very decorative front yard. And we do installations that are very formal in the villages or in PGA communities, but also in suburban or rural backyards that they want it to look like the Shire in the Lord of the Rings. They want it to look, wild and unkept. They want it to be a little more naturalized. So if you kind of step through the olive grove, you'll notice the edge of, this is what we call a fence line food forest. So imagine if you were to take a little forest and you were to mush it together in a straight line and elongate it. That's what we've done here for the farm. And so in the very back of this, you'll notice the very top story is a bamboo. This bamboo is called sea breeze. Not all bamboo, don't get triggered. Not all bamboo are runners and invasive and crazy and awful. There are many bamboos, sea breeze included, that is a clumping bamboo and will never, even after 80 years, get more than 10 or 15 feet across. And we're going to talk a lot more about bamboo later, the benefits not only for us individually, but also for our horses or for our livestock. Then underneath of that story are fruit trees, our berry bushes, even the ground cover understory are wildflowers that Chris and Christy Liebner from A Wild Garden put in. So that way, even the what you call grass and the weeds are wildflowers that they've selected that are going to be blooming at the same time as the fruit trees. So when the fruit trees come into flower, the right wildflowers are underneath to bring in those pollinators, to bring in the insects. So it's all a matter of timing and a rhythm. Now, the vision that Jennifer had for this was she wanted the Shire. She wanted wild and naturalized. But if you wanted something more repeating patterns or formal for a front yard in the villages or a PGA community, you could do fruit trees and berry bushes and jabuticaba, and fun things that you can eat just by transitioning some of your landscape. And many of those communities are not only in support of it when it's done well, but they encourage it. The Villages, I think, is one that is really pressing the idea of green communities and helping communities begin to grow their own food. And so when you look at this food forest, all the way down, there's like Cattleya guava. These are 2 different varieties, lemon and strawberry. They taste just like the name. A fig tree. This one I believe is Celeste. So it's like a pink fig on the inside. Scarlet Beauty plum, which is my favorite plum in Central Florida. Really good yielder and producer. Peaches, there's a couple different peaches in the food forest. We have Tropic Beauty and Tropic Snow, and I believe there's one Florida Prince, and they've just started to set their little bit of fruit for the year. This one is still dormant. He's a persimmon who's like just barely starting to open up. So the persimmon are always a little bit late bloomers. Goji berries, tropical cherries. One of my personal favorites down here, I'll show you 2 of them. One of them is called jabuticaba. It's like a grape that grows on the trunk of the tree. So instead of the grapes growing on the branches, they're all over the trunk of the tree. The flavor of the jabuticaba or Brazilian grape is like the sweetest grape you've ever had wrapped in a Cabernet Sauvignon. Like it's just, I love Jesus, but I drink a little. So it's just a really nice fruit to be able to pick that off the tree and put that red wine wrapped grape in your mouth. And you can also make jabuticaba wine or a liqueur, because it's not technically in an oak cask, on your countertop in 3 to 5 days, recipe forthcoming. So this is the jabuticaba tree, and this is another one of those that you could grow as a small tree, like a literally as a bonsai. I have a 75-year-old friend who prunes these as a bonsai, or you could let her grow up and be a 15-foot tall bush. And this will fruit about 3 to 5 times a year. So you're getting a lot of fruit and a lot of yield off the jabuticaba. This is another of the Cattleya guavas. My other favorite that we passed just back there by the persimmon is called Cherry of the Rio. So Jennifer is going to get to try the Cherry of the Rio Grande this year, because both of hers started pushing their flowers. Cherry of the Rio Grande is this beautiful bush cherry that will grow in full shade. And it's kind of like a strawberry that married a plum and had a baby together. And that is the Cherry of the Rio Grande. And it'll grow in full shade and produce fruit for you. It'll also grow in full sun. So I think when you look at a forest like this, it's easy to look at the different elements and start to imagine them in your space, to find a leaf or a branch structure that's appealing. And by transitioning those little things in your yard, start with one bush that doesn't do anything right now, but you take it out, put in something like a jabuticaba or a Cherry of the Rio Grande, you're providing food and sustenance for yourself, for your family, for your neighbors. I mean, goodness sakes, one lemon tree, you're going to be giving lemons away to every neighbor around you. Now, some of you tonight I did send home I've got a couple more. This one here, this is called Okinawa spinach. It has purple undersides that will get really deep purple toward the end of the year. This one died back to the ground, nasty looking in the frost here in Ocala, and it's just started to get its first flush of leaves on it. But the purple undersides on this one give it a lot of anthocyanins, which is a great antioxidant for the body. And so that deep purple is going to give us a lot of those good antioxidants in a spinach that we are never going to be able to buy from a store. Now, me personally, I don't love this one in salads. I like taking this one and throwing it in my scrambled eggs in the morning, in soups, in stews, in quiches. It's also really good for bringing LDL and DHL cholesterols back into homeostasis. So if you have high on one or low on the other or vice versa, it just helps bring things back up into the normal range, and really good for managing blood cholesterol levels. So there's a lot of beautiful health benefits that you can grow and just let it come back every year. These are things that now that Jennifer has them in the ground, she's never going to have to plant these again. Not, at least not in her lifetime. Yeah. And a lot of these you can take and just break off cuttings, hand them to your friends, let them come over and have a meal with you, send them home with a cutting, and be able to share in that beautiful abundance. And I think that's a lot of...
How do you grow it from a cutting?
Growing it from cutting, super easy. The ones that I gave you up there, I started about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, and you literally break off all of the leaves and stick that in dirt. You don't have to root it in water. You don't have to do anything, no rooting hormone. You just stick it in dirt, let it sit on the side, and it will come back, and you can't kill it. Like, if you kill this, congratulations. I mean, it's really impossible to kill. So there's so much, beauty that can be created, but also the health benefits that you can glean along the way, I think are really beneficial. And that's what's very unique about what David and Jen and Margaret are doing here on the farm, is not just going, hey, how do we have something real pretty? And it is real pretty. I mean, it's real pretty. But how do we have something that creates healthy horses? How do we take that up a notch, and it's healthy families and healthy kids and healthy neighbors? How do we take that up another notch and start regenerating the soil and be connecting those elements on multiple levels? And so that's really what we want to spotlight tonight with you, is how do you connect these things on multiple levels? Because a tree is not just an island to itself. It's connected to the soil, it's connected to the bamboo, it's connected to the earthworms that I'm sure you'll hear more about in a little bit. There's all of those connections that we establish with intentionality. And that's the gift that we get to bring as stewards of our land, is we get to help facilitate those connections. We don't get to dictate them, but we get to facilitate them. We're like conductors of an orchestra for our 70-year internship of life. So again, thank you so much for taking time to come and visit with us. Hopefully as we tour through the rest of the farm and go through the rest of the evening, you'll be able to make some connections with the land, with the horses, with the people around you, with the music that's gonna be filling your ears and your heart, that will make this a very worthwhile trip for you. So let's go ahead and continue.